lockdown. Our artists, our students have produced some amazing work during that period, and we want to celebrate it this evening. We've also got celebratory compositions produced by students following the music curriculum. Now this is all happening from the Bistro Art Gallery space, which is situated in Stratton Foyer area. So the students are now going to talk a little bit about their work, so I'm going to pass it over to them.
There is hope. It is based around the effect of coronavirus around the world. For many, the lockdowns were not only difficult but mentally draining. However, for me, lockdown helped to build my confidence and grow as a person. I have aimed to capture this in my artwork. You may notice the tear in the corner of the eye. It is to represent the fear and upset that coronavirus has brought. The flowers are to show the growth of me as an individual.
On Aboriginal art, and I've done from an influence of Anna Strong. I like vintage, so I've used copy to do the background, and then I've cut out a person from a magazine and layered it with other pieces to get Anna Strong.
Represents life in lockdown.
Something in the water, 'cause every day is getting colder, and only if I could hold ya, I keep my head from going under. Maybe I'm just being blinded by the brighter side of what we have, because it's over. Well, there must be something in the tide.
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Possibly. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Possibly.
And our contributing artists are local artists, Maddie, Meadon and Dave King. They are ex-head of department, and they have done fantastic work again during lockdown.
I'm Maddie, Meadon, and I for a long time taught here at Budehaven, and really pleased to get asked to put some work into this exhibition about artwork that's been made during 2020 basically, and during a lot of it during lockdown. I'm retired from teaching and therefore able to work a lot on my own work, which has been very exciting. And last year I knew that I had an exhibition coming up. Well, I'd hoped I'd had the exhibition, and it did happen, thankfully, between lockdowns. So that was great. It was a good motivator for making artwork. But during lockdown, it was quite an interesting sort of period of time. I think April, May time, the weather was particularly wonderful, and I've always enjoyed walking, being in nature. So I just loved having reason to sort of go out every day. First it was just enjoying being outside, and I realised I was returning to the same sort of places along by the canal, the river and the shoreline in Bude, and that started to really sort of inspire my work. Previously my work had been a lot to do with gardens, and it sort of opened up more into sort of a bigger landscape and seascapes, I suppose, and waterscapes, so water became important. Also I think the act of walking was really important, and I tried to put that into the work. So there became a sort of repetitive aspect to the work, either in repeating shapes, repeating sort of motifs, or actually the fact that I was often working on 6, 8, 10 pieces of work at the same time. I don't tend to sort of draw very much when I'm actually outside. Very occasionally I will just make a few sort of little drawings, notes. I'm more likely to take lots of photographs on my phone as an aid memoir, which I will then look at when I get home. Just things that catch my eye, really. But a lot of it is remembering when I get back to my home or to my studio, and just trying to get thoughts down on paper, onto whatever surface I might be working on. Colour is really, really important to me, and I hope that the work cheers people up as well when they see it because of the colour. That's often remarked upon. Reflections and light, I suppose, because of the water, and I felt the sort of metaphor really of reflecting upon things, upon life, upon all sorts of things that were going on in the world became quite important as well. So those walks were kind of meditation, a thought process, just fascinating time really, and very inspiring, very, very inspiring. The other great thing about lockdown is I had no other distractions really. I didn't have swimming to go to, or yoga, or badminton, the kind of things that I was generally doing a lot of, or going out, meeting friends, and all that stopped, and so I was able to just focus on my artwork at first. And at first that felt a bit sort of scary almost, but as I got into it, it was lovely. It was just so relaxing, there was no time pressure. It was just great, really good. So the work that Sarah and I selected to put into the show is just a very small snapshot really of the things I was doing. I was literally producing hundreds. I look back, I was looking last night, I've got hundreds and hundreds of prints and images that I was making of all different sizes because I was in sort of a highly productive mode, as I said, very little else to do. And also I spread my work everywhere, never had to really sort of tidy up after myself to make space to eat with friends or anything like that. It was just great, I loved it. The work itself has many layers in it, and I think there's a sort of probably a metaphor there as well, that sort of thing. You see something one day, then you come back to the next day, on a walk perhaps, or with the work, and something's changed, so you add another layer, you make a sort of change to the work. That often gets reflected in my sketchbooks as well. They're not sketchbooks in a conventional sense. They're really just notes about colour, and they're very playful, very experimental. I love colour. I love just kind of getting interesting colour combinations and odd shapes that perhaps catch my eye. The uninterrupted time was a key part of lockdown that for me was an absolute benefit. I realised how important that is, and I'm quite an impatient person, I think, when I'm working, so I wanted to always get on with things very quickly, and I had to slow down, and that was good. That was really good for probably my mental health, and hopefully for the work as well, but without losing the energy in the work. There was something very comforting about repeating a process, and that comforting feeling was again an important feeling, I think, at the time, and I'd say it was good for anybody. Of course, the walks in nature were always very inspiring and again very sort of calming. Because of not being able to go to shops and buy art materials or whatever, I became a lot more resourceful. I've always been a big fan of recycling and repurposing and reusing, and that really came to the fore, and I was doing that lots more because simply out of necessity I had to, because you know, that I just needed to sort of use up those materials. I'd run out of a particular colour, let's see if I can mix another colour, use something else instead. So it was good for that reason as well, I found. I think it's easy, you know, we can all become big consumers, and when it's not so easy to do that, it sort of necessitates a different way of working, and that was great.
My name is Dave King, and this is a portrait I made of myself last year. In March 2020, in the first lockdown, I came across the work of somebody called Tom Croft, who is an artist working in York. During the early days of the pandemic, he couldn't find any focus for his work because it seemed completely pointless in the grand scheme of things. A portrait is a permanent physical record of someone's existence. It immortalises people, as the portraits are likely to last far longer than the subjects. So Tom posted a video on Instagram saying he would like to paint a free portrait to the first NHS key worker who contacted him. He also suggested that other portrait artists might like to offer one too. Artists were asked to post their portraits under the hashtag Portraits for NHS Heroes, so everyone could be seen online in a virtual exhibition. Then, at the end of the pandemic, there would be a wonderful exhibition and an accompanying book to celebrate and say thank you to the heroes of the NHS. So, in the spring of 2020, I made small paintings for 4 NHS workers who were nominated by friends and contacts of mine through Facebook. First up, Sarah Leach. Sarah is a community nurse in Holsworthy who returned to practice 3 years ago after leaving the nursing profession for 11 years. She says, "It's the best thing I ever did returning. Thank you so much for letting me be one of your subjects. I wouldn't say I'm a hero though. Every day is a privilege in our job." Thank you, Sarah. Next up is Fliss Whitehead. Fliss is a paediatric respiratory community nurse and works out of 2 hospitals, the Queen Elizabeth II Hospital in Welwyn Garden City and the Lister Hospital in Stevenage, Hertfordshire. She was nominated by friends of mine who work in the theatre in Holsworthy. Thanks, Fliss. This is Amanda. She's been nursing for 11 years. She is a Band 5 nurse and works at the Minor Injuries Unit of Stratton Hospital. Again, she was nominated by a friend. Thanks, Amanda. And lastly, Mandy Mitchell. Mandy worked in Holsworthy Medical Centre for about 14 years as a phlebotomist. She and her husband Kevin started to experience COVID symptoms on the 14th of March 2020. Kevin began to recover by the 20th, but unfortunately Mandy didn't. She was admitted to Barnstable Hospital on the 22nd of March and was put into an induced coma and on a ventilator. She was finally brought out of the coma after 5 weeks, but remained on the ventilator and in ICU for 93 days before she was finally discharged. She was given a roadside hero's welcome on her return to Holsworthy and her home village in June 2020. These 4 paintings and thousands of other wonderful portraits of NHS workers can be found on Instagram at #PortraitsForNHSHeroes.
And final thank you from the art department for your support this evening. I'm sure you'll agree with me that the standard of students' work has been exceptional. And thank you also to our contributing artists.